All right, so the last table I want to make for this video is one where we wouldn't want to just do a starting point of 0 and a step of 1. So I want to show you what time that we would want to modify where our table starts and stops. So number 5 from the worksheet from Thursday's class is a great place to do this. So if we actually wrote out a linear model for this, we have y is equal to 1200 plus 0.20x, where x is equal to the amount and meals served, and y is equal to his salary or paycheck. So we got Mr. Ramsey, he's working, he's going to take away 2 parts in terms of money every month. He has his base salary, and he has his tips. So tips are just 20% of whatever he takes home on average. Now, the very first question, or the only question after we come up with our linear model here, is to use this to find out how much he earned if he served $4,000 worth of meals. So we know how much he served, and we want to know how much he actually earned because of that. So what we want to do mathematically is just plug on in, figure out what 20% of that 4,000 was, how much did he make in tips, and add that to his base amount that he makes. Now, what if I'm in my calculator and I want to plug this in using the table instead? Maybe there was more going on here and I had to do multiple things plugged in. Well, I'd go into my table, edit my function, and I would put in 1200 plus 0.2x. I could do 0.20, but that extra 0 doesn't do anything. And I'd press enter. And now if I started in a general with a 0, 1, this is what's going to happen. I'm adding freaking 20 cents for every dollar. And it's going to take me 4,000 clicks, frankly, to get to 4,000, which is bananas. So if you ever in the table and you're like, oh no, the setting is not great, I don't love it, if you press clear, it just takes you back one step. So you can actually say, well, why don't we just start at 4,000? And then it pops you in right at 4,000 and tells you if you plug in 4,000, y is equal to 2,000. That's how much money he's making. Okay? We could also have just set this so that the step was like by the thousands instead of by the ones. So then I could have seen, okay, if he sells $1,000 worth of food, he gets this, 2,000 there, and I could get to 4,000 that way as well. The last thing I want to show you about this table, I'm going to change this back to 0, 1, is that this little feature here, this x equals question mark section. So you see how we've always left it on auto, so it autofills everything. If I choose this and then press calculate, it leaves me a blank table where I am able to type in whatever I want. So if any point you want to type in something that has a fraction or is a decimals, like you want to type in a third or something, then you're like, oh, well, he made $800, but he split it with 3 people in terms of the meals. So how much is, you can actually type that in, or you can just type in this case, 4,000. Another option, I don't actually know if this is true, I'm just going to test it. If I go to the table, sorry, I'll do that again. If I go to table and I press F there, I can actually, I think, type in 4,000 and close the parentheses, and it tells me what F of 4,000 is. So I can go ahead and just do this here instead of going to the table where I just go in and say, oh, let me bring this back, let me modify it. I accidentally typed that in wrong, let's make it 6,000. And I can see what the change is going to be. So lots of ways to use your table, especially with weird values. You can use that x equals question mark section. You can use this pulling just the f, the function notation in, and then plugging in from there. Or you can modify your starting point or your steps. So you have lots of ways. Play around with that table and get comfortable with it because it's going to be your best friend, not just for this section, but for every section from here on out.